It's been a difficult couple of years for AlphaTauri. Of course, this season having 4 drivers in one season with Liam Lawson, Nick De Vries, Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo sitting company bottom of the Constructors' Championship, only collecting 3 points via Yuki Tsunoda. And with the whole team changing going into 2024, as Helmut Marko confirmed with the team name, Franz Tost is leaving at the end of the season. A whole new change is coming to this AlphaTauri team, and it's going to be interesting to see how they shape up coming into 2024, and especially when it comes to their driver lineup. Now, of course, their driver lineup, it's between Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson. Of course, Yuki Tsunoda has been in that car for the whole season, and Daniel Ricciardo was in the AlphaTauri car from Hungary to Belgium, but of course with his wrist injury has meant that he has to sit out, and instead Liam Lawson has come in for the past 2 races. AlphaTauri started the season with Nick De Vries and Yuki Tsunoda as their driver lineup. Of course, Nick De Vries comes from winning Formula 2, winning Formula E, and that impressive performance in Monza last year when he came in from Alex Albon and grabbed the team some nice points in a car that was really struggling. It was his chance to prove that he was good enough for Formula 1. He's been kind of in and around that kind of talk, where he be into Formula 1. Of course, having that Mercedes links, of course, Toto Wolff wanted him to be in Formula 1 as much as possible, and he finally got his chance. He came in as the figurehead, as the lead guy, the team leader, the guy that Yuki Tsunoda can kind of really test himself against. Of course, Yuki Tsunoda started his Formula 1 career with Pierre Gasly as his teammate, and that is really tough to kind of have your first teammate as. And as we've seen this season, Yuki Tsunoda has become a different man, a more kind of controlled, a more consistent and a faster driver so far this season. Of course, picking up 3 points in Australia, Azerbaijan and Belgium, and it's really helped the team, and also making it through to Q2 more times as well. He seems much more relaxed and calm this season, and he's becoming much more of a complete driver, and he's kind of proving to all of us that he can be in Formula 1. Now, the thing for me that I'm most uncertain about when it comes to Yuki Tsunoda is whether he'll be ever good enough to drive in that Red Bull. And for me, another season he would need to have to prove to us that he can take to the pressure of driving for that Red Bull team. Of course, we've had Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly drive for that team from the Toro Rosso, the junior team of Red Bull, and they weren't able to kind of, live with the pressure that there is to be in that Red Bull car. And of course, Max Verstappen is a tough teammate to be up against. One of the, you could probably argue, the quickest guy in Formula 1 right now. But this year, Yuki Tsunoda did really need to step up, and he has stepped up. And next year, it needs to be the same, and we need to see more improvements. And of course, it's hard to judge someone's performances when the team and the car isn't doing that great, and with all these little changes coming around and having different teammates as well, it isn't really helping the situation. De Vries comes with some sort of pedigree, and there's a bit of pressure there as well, although Nick De Vries really did struggle to adapt to that car. But then you had the fact of Daniel Ricciardo, who joins the team with 8 race victories, pole positions, podiums, the experience at the top. That is so difficult to adjust to. That's probably more pressure than having Pierre Gasly as your teammate, because of course Daniel Ricciardo has been in that big team for much longer, was able to challenge Max, and that's the guy that you really need to measure yourself up against. Of course, his best mate really, Liam Lawson, comes in for the last 2 races, someone who he raced with in Formula 2, and of course having Liam Lawson as your teammate, someone who is quick, and he's proven it wherever he's gone. And someone who at the moment doesn't have that much time in Formula 1, so he's going to be pushing to prove that he is good enough to be in Formula 1, and someone who's going to want to take his best mate's seat. But overall, Yuki Tsunoda for me has had a good season so far, a massive improvement from last year, and he's been doing exactly what we need, what we've been asking him to do really, just grabbing the points in consistent performances and being in and around the points positions to pick those little bits up. Of course, Australia was where he picked up a P10, and that was massively helped by the incident at the end of the race, but he still needs to be there to grab those points. And of course, Nick De Vries wasn't too great in his Formula 1 career, in his short-lasted Formula 1 career. Of course, the Red Bull program is quite a brutal one, and he was deemed to not be good enough and to be able to eventually go into that Red Bull seat, because that's of course what the AlphaTauri team is all about. And I guess Nick DeVries kind of slightly improved towards the end, but overall was not good enough. And from obviously what we know of Red Bull, would he ever be able to challenge Max in that Red Bull? I'm not too sure, and I feel that Yuki Tsunoda would have the better of Verstappen over Nick DeVries. And of course, Daniel Ricciardo came in after the tyre test after Silverstone, impressed Christian Horner. He went, mate, Helmut Marko, we need this guy in the car. He's quick enough, he's ready. And he was ready in Hungary, qualified P13, finished P13, ahead of his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, which was a really impressive performance, how well he was able to adapt to that AlphaTauri. We've seen Daniel Ricciardo move to multiple teams before, Renault and McLaren, and struggle to adapt to that car. And there's real issues to think that this guy, who's this great driver we consider, can't seem to adapt to certain cars, and him adapting to AlphaTauri is really quite impressive. And of course, unfortunate for that wrist injury, he has to sit out for a little while. The rumours have it from Christian Horner say that he could be back around about Qatar. And of course, Singapore, Japan are really physical circuits to jump straight back into, especially with Sector 1 in Japan as well. The lot of kind of steering and a lot of use of your wrist as well. It's not the perfect track to kind of come back to. And of course, Singapore with the heat, really physical track. And do you know what? I don't really mind it because we get to see what Liam Lawson has to offer. And for me, Liam Lawson has a lot to offer. He's way younger than Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo is 34 years old compared to Liam Lawson is 21 years old. And the potential of Liam Lawson compared to Daniel Ricciardo of where they can go in the sport, Liam Lawson has a higher ceiling. Daniel Ricciardo is only going to really stay where he is kind of now, but Liam Lawson has the potential to go above Daniel Ricciardo's level right now. There's still a little bit of inexperience from Liam Lawson, but that will come. The team is used to having these young drivers coming through. So, and plus he's been around the team for quite a while as well. So he will really kind of slowly adjust into the team, and as he races more, the experience will kind of come. It's kind of like in Zandvoort when Liam Lawson went up the inside of Charles Leclerc in the last sector, and then Leclerc got him on the next straight. Those sort of kind of inexperiences that I'm talking about. But overall, I think Liam Lawson's pace has really impressed me, and I want to see him in that seat come 2024. The advantage of having Daniel Ricciardo in your car is the experience. Yes, maybe not the same Daniel Ricciardo that was back in Red Bull, the guy that was really good in his final season at Renault, but a guy that knows how to lift the team, a guy that you know that will perform. And he's a real character for the team as well, a guy that can kind of boost morale, as we've kind of seen. And that experience for when a young driver, someone like a Liam Lawson, to come through and learn off someone like a Daniel Ricciardo is really valuable. And of course, the aim of AlphaTauri is to put that guy who's quick enough to go into that Red Bull seat, and of course in this case, Sergio Perez. And of course, Sergio Perez's contract is up in 2024, so it's a perfect time for next season to really push. Ricciardo will be working hard to get back into Formula 1 so he can drive for next season and be in the limelight and be in the running for that Red Bull seat. And Liam Lawson is going to want that too. And I feel that them two do have a reasonable chance. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo has a massive fan base, but I would probably say top 5 fan bases in the sport, I would say. And his marketing is really good. For the AlphaTauri team that are kind of changing next year, changing the team name as well, he'd be really useful for the brand to kind of expose itself. And of course, Daniel Ricciardo isn't just someone who's good at marketing for the team, but he also is a quick driver. And that experience that he offers as well is something that is really useful. And of course, Liam Lawson, he has that potential. And the only worry with Liam Lawson, which is a reason why I believe that Liam Lawson will get the seat, it's because we all know Liam Lawson is a talented driver and deserves to be in Formula 1. So if you leave him out for a year, that's a massive risk for another team to then take him on. And of course for 2024, Williams may be getting rid of Sargent. We don't know that situation yet. Alfa Romeo obviously have a seat opening as well. Would Alfa Romeo take him? Probably not, with Porsche being in the running as well. I think they'll take Porsche over Liam Lawson. But even for 2025, the seats all open up as well. A lot of contracts running out in 2024. A team surely is going to want to try and pick up Liam Lawson if they can, because he's such a great driver. He's really, really quick. So Red Bull need to make a really, really smart and good decision to what they actually do with Liam Lawson, because I'm sure that any other team would love to have Liam Lawson in their seat. And you got to think with Haas as well. They have two drivers who are kind of in their 30s now. How long would they be in Formula 1 for? Of course, Kevin Magnussen's only 31 years old. Nico Hulkenberg, I believe, is 36 years old. So will next year be Hulkenberg's final year? Does Lawson then go into that seat? That's the thing. Red Bull have a massive decision in their hands, and it's not just a case of making a decision for next season, but it's making a decision for the next 2 or 3 years. And there's a lot of pressure from the second seat at Red Bull with Sergio Perez. With some of iffy performances coming this season, there's now kind of an opening, really, that if whoever is in that AlphaTauri seat has an amazing season, there's an opportunity there straight away for his driver to take up that seat. Sergio Perez may move on at the end of 2024 when his contract does run out, so it's a perfect opportunity. And again, Red Bull need to make the right decision, because you don't want to just chuck a driver into that second seat and just get swallowed up. And look what's happened with Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly. I've been in that kind of firing line, and I've really, really struggled with that pressure. And of course, Albon's gone back to Williams and is performing absolutely unbelievable. And Pierre Gasly has gone back to his old ways before he was at Red Bull. You know, those consistent, fast performances they produced at Toro Rosso. He's just doing that for Alpine, and he was doing that for AlphaTauri as well. So now, in conclusion, who do I think will be in that seat? Honestly, I would not be surprised if Tsunoda does not make the seat for 2024, because at the end of the day, this is the Red Bull program, and they can throw up so many different surprises. And for me, it does make sense with Daniel Ricciardo being in that seat next season. Maybe not because obviously he kind of spoils the bit with the young drivers and that kind of aspect of what the purpose of AlphaTauri is, but the marketing, the aim of him maybe getting into the Red Bull seat. Red Bull clearly like him as well and would like to give him the opportunity as well. And I'm sure if Ricciardo just stays consistent and does the jobs that he needs to do, getting out of Q2 the odd couple of times, maybe scoring a point when he comes back, then I think he'd be fine for the seat. So therefore, I'm going to go with Daniel Ricciardo for the seat. And I've got a really good feeling about Liam Lawson making that seat as well. I feel like they would want both as well. And of course, the links with Honda is going away now, and with Yuki Tsunoda kind of being a part of that Honda kind of program rather than just the Red Bull program. They don't really need him there anymore. Of course, Honda are now going with Aston Martin for 2026, so that relationship is kind of breaking down between Red Bull. So the appeal of having a Japanese driver isn't really there anymore. And that's where I do think Liam Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo will both be driving for AlphaTauri next season. And where does that leave Yuki Tsunoda? I don't know where that leaves Yuki Tsunoda. Could maybe go to Williams if the seat at Williams does open up? That's the thing, that's the difficult thing. But what I do want to know is what you guys think about who will get that AlphaTauri seat. Make sure you subscribe, like for more stuff like this, and let me know who do you think will be in the AlphaTauri seat next season. I will do a follow-up video on this, probably round about when Ricciardo does come back. So I'll give Daniel Ricciardo a couple more races. So he comes back in, say he comes back in Qatar, I will give him like 2 more races, and then I'll do another follow-up video about who I think will be in that seat, because then we have a clearer picture. Because I don't think that decision for that seat will be made until the last few races of the season. So it's a long time to go until we do find that out. But hey, I could be wrong. But thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.